friends. Welcome back. Now, before we get into today's episode, I thought we would do a little bit of housekeeping, just to catch up on what's new and prepare for the coming weeks, because I've got a lot of updates. First, I did a poll on Instagram to see what day of the week people liked me uploading new YouTube videos, and I confirmed my suspicions that you guys all still would prefer me to post on Sundays. However, since I'm back to doing this all by myself, filming it, editing it, writing the recipes, testing the recipes, I found it to be really difficult to stay on a Sunday posting schedule because I had one of two options. I could either batch my content 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time to give me enough time to edit and write the recipes and get everything ready. Alternatively, I would then spend the entire weekend editing and working, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just I was determined to find another way. So I am moving forward with a Wednesday posting schedule. Think of it this way: instead of getting the same videos on Sunday, you're getting it 4 days early on Wednesday. And you can save it to watch on Sundays, but it's going to be better this way, I promise. And I'm really excited. I'm starting to kind of get into a groove with YouTube because my goal has always been to post weekly, which is another reason why I wanted to pivot away from exclusively doing dinner party content, because let's be real, I'm not hosting a dinner party every single day of the week for an entire year. So yeah, this new structure, posting on Wednesdays, posting weekly instead of monthly, is going to give us a lot more time to explore other topics outside of dinner parties, like weeknight dinners, and in this case, for this episode, a little travel moment. Last week, I went to France with my mom. We were treated to this trip by the Laurent Perrier team, which is my favorite brand of champagne. This video is not sponsored. The trip was not sponsored. It was really just, hey, we saw you're a big fan of our brand. We'd love to have you come and visit the vineyard and learn a bit more about our brand and about our process and about our champagnes. We had the best time. They were truly so amazing. They organized all of our reservations, all of our hotels, all of our travel. So I literally just showed up to the airport and everything was already figured out for me, which is my personal dream. I like travel, but honestly, sometimes it can feel like a full-time job, between organizing it, coordinating everything, and just like doing the research to make sure you're going to the right places. In the vlog, I take you along with me to the Laurent Perrier vineyard. We had a day in Paris, just me and my mom, before we headed over to Champagne. I tried to vlog with my digital camera as much as I could, but 3 years of being a TikToker, it's hard to remember to shoot horizontal video. I was like, my phone was out the whole trip taking content, and then I realized that like all of the premium content I captured was on my phone vertically. So I got a little creative. I put together some of my favorite videos that I captured from my iPhone into this vlog. Let me know what you think. I just thought, why let that content go to waste? Why gatekeep those videos exclusively on TikTok and Instagram? Speaking of which, I also filmed a recipe that's at the end of this video for scallops meunière. I can't pronounce it. It's like a French word. It's inspired by sole meunière. I can't pronounce it, you guys. I took Spanish in school, so I just don't have it in me to do a French accent. Anyways, if you're unfamiliar with Julia Child's villain origin story, she was abroad with her husband, who was in the military. They were living in Paris at the time, and she was out to dinner one day and ordered the sole meunière and had this like religious experience with this piece of fish. And it was that moment where she realized she had to dedicate the rest of her life towards cooking and food. It's just one of those like culturally significant dishes that have now become so much bigger than their actual purpose. What is it? It's bigger than the sum of its parts. It's really just a piece of fish fried in brown butter with some lemon and parsley, but culturally it's extremely significant to me. So we ended up getting sole while we were in France. It was delicious. And while I love this dish so much, unfortunately sole is extremely expensive. Like to get one Dover sole, not even filleted, not even scaled or deboned, is like practically $100. It's just not realistic to think that people are going to be going out to the grocery store buying Dover sole. I'm not even doing that. And I love to drop bands at the grocery store. So anyways, I developed a recipe for scallops meunière, where we're using the exact same preparation as you would with Dover sole, but we're using scallops. I love scallops. I'm a New England girl. I grew up spending summers out in Nantucket, and I had my first scallop at like 5 years old probably. They're so buttery and so delicious. They are perfect for this preparation. A very simple buttery lemon sauce, but you could really use any seafood for this dish. It is so painfully simple and so painfully delicious. I could see you doing it with a piece of cod, a piece of halibut, a piece of tilapia, like any flaky white fish, any shellfish would work really well in this. But the story behind the video I filmed of said recipe, I was waiting for my camera to charge, and so I figured, okay, I'll film making this recipe on my phone. In the meantime, I can use the video for socials, and I can also test out the recipe one last time. And while I was making the dish, I haven't cooked in this apartment very much, I'm gonna be honest with you, so I'm not quite familiar with how sensitive the fire alarms are, and I did set off a fire alarm, and I have a torn ACL. So while I was scrambling to turn the fire alarm off, I buckled my knee in a way where I was down bad for the rest of the day. And so instead of filming the recipe again with this camera for you guys and walking you through the recipe, I was laid up on the couch with my ice and Tylenol. So apologies for the vertical video recipe video in this YouTube video. What? Apologies in advance for the status of the recipe video at the end of this vlog, but we'll get them next time. What are you gonna do? Speaking of which, my ACL. It's throwing a wrench in all of my plans, but we're gonna have to just work around it. I'm getting surgery next week, so you're watching this on a Wednesday. I'm getting surgery the following Monday. I am filming a video with the intention of posting it next Wednesday. However, I don't know how I'm going to be feeling next week in terms of pain and sort of just like my mental state, because I'm going to be on a lot of painkillers. But I'm going to try my best to get the video out next week. If not next week, the week after. And that's kind of the theme for the next month, is playing it by ear. I don't want to overcommit myself and, push myself too much with this knee, especially in the kitchen, but also in terms of work in general. I'm trying to take it easy, and it's been really hard for me. Like, I don't do well with downtime. So I appreciate all of your patience and all of your support as I've been creating this video series and, going through a lot of trial and error. I started posting these videos on YouTube a year ago, and everyone told me I needed to have like a surefire strategy figured out before I started posting, and I'm like, that's like actually not my style. And I was reading the Ina Garten memoir. Wait, let me grab it, because I highlighted a line that I was like, so true. So like I said, everyone, when I started talking like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, about wanting to do YouTube, everyone I talked to about it was like, what's your strategy? What's your plan? What's your format? What's the set gonna be? All of these things, like basically saying you need to have it all figured out before you start. And I was like, says who? Like, you're talking to a girl who started a catering company at 22 years old during a global pandemic. Like, sometimes I think people take everything a little too seriously. I just felt very seen by this quote. And this is, for context, she bought her specialty food store in the Hamptons, like almost sight unseen. I think they saw it once, but she had never spent time in the Hamptons before. She was completely unfamiliar with the catering industry and the area in general. but she saw a listing in the newspaper for a specialty food store for sale. Her and Jeffrey drove up to visit it. They saw it. They put in a lowball offer thinking like, oh, they'll probably decline it, and then we'll have some more time to kind of like think this through and think if we really want to do this. And then the lady like accepted their lowball offer that they thought they were for sure gonna get turned away for. But then she was like, oh shit, now I own a specialty food store and I've been working as like a neuroscientist or a rocket scientist. What? I don't remember. I think it was a rocket scientist, like for NASA, whatever. This quote was in reference to her and Jeffrey doing long distance while he was in college and she was still in high school. Okay, I thought I can work with this. In my true jump first and worry about tomorrow when it comes approach to life, I flew up to Hanover to see Jeffrey 3 times before the end of October. Oops, what do we do now? So her dad told her she was allowed to visit him at school 3 times for the year, and she was so in love. She visited him right after that conversation. She visited him 3 times back to back to back. She blew through her 3 visits in 3 weeks for the year. What a queen. But anyways, I can relate. I am very much a jump first, worry about the details later kind of person. And I think that's very evident in my YouTube presence thus far. I mean, honestly, here's my thinking. I need to cover this. It's like ugly. Here's my thinking. I didn't jump onto TikTok, jump onto Instagram, and immediately start going viral and immediately have success. I was troubleshooting on those social media platforms for a year before I got my groove at all. And it was after a year and a half, 2 years of trial and error on social media that I finally posted my first vlog, Day in My Life as a Private Chef in the Hamptons, and found any sort of success. So I'm giving myself the permission to go through those same motions here on YouTube. Trial and error, see what feels good, see what doesn't feel good, see what you guys like, see what I like, and just find a system that works for all of us and is fun, you know? So yeah, again, I'm just grateful that you guys have been patient and very supportive during this time, because it's not that serious. Like, I'm just posting cooking videos on the internet. I'm allowed to like make mistakes, turn in my homework late. So long as we're, you know, getting some extra time together, I feel like it's a win. Anyways, I'm probably forgetting something, naturally. Oh, I was gonna do a butter haul. Hold on. I wanted to do a haul of all the things that I got in Paris. Originally, I was planning on doing a butter taste test for this video, but I can't get myself to open all of these butters and like expose them to oxygen and then like potentially have them go to waste. So we're all just gonna have to be patient. I think that's the theme of the year, is patience. But anyways, I'm gonna show you all the butters that I got for now, and then throughout the year, we'll try them all together. These ones are all frozen. I put them in the freezer once I got back from Paris. I'm gonna take them out of their vacuum seal bag back at the barn and then vacuum seal them all individually. So then I can like take them out one by one from the freezer and try them. But we've got the demi-sel, which is just the regular salted. And then we have this one, which I think is olive oil. This is the vanilla bean and bourbon. I'm excited for that. Yuzu, which is a Japanese citrus fruit. This one is, I think, caramelized onion. Everyone said that the caramelized onion was one of their favorites. I got this one, truffle one. Seaweed was also, everyone said, was their favorite. I'm really curious to try the seaweed. And then a chocolate one. How yummy. And then they had to do 2 bags, but there was only 3 in this bag, so I opened this one first. I'm using a salted butter in the recipe video at the end of this video, which is why it's not here, because I used it. Delicious. And then another seaweed one, which I'm gonna try maybe this week. And then this one is Espelette, which is kind of like paprika. It's like chili powder, but not spicy chili, like red bell pepper-ish. Well, Espelette is a pepper, but it's not super spicy. Oh my gosh. Do I have anything else I was supposed to say? I did go shopping. I included some vlog content for me and my mom's shopping endeavors. I got a red leather Gucci coat, and I haven't exposed my other purchases yet because I like to keep an air of mystery. I like to be a little mysterious. But I did have to stop at the pharmacy at one point to get aspirin to thin my blood before the flight, because my doctor was like, you might get a blood clot on the plane, so you need to take aspirin. So we went to the pharmacy to get aspirin, and I also got some skincare, and I've been using it, and it's been amazing. Let me show you. This was an impromptu, any reviews or sort of products in mind while I was shopping. I really just like browsed and looked for something that jumped out at me. Actually, right before we went to the pharmacy, we had lunch with the Laurent Perrier team, and one of the girls, I had asked her what she recommends if we were to stop at a pharmacy, what she recommends me buying in terms of skincare, and she said La Roche-Posay. And I was like, kind of like, well, we have that in the States, so is that kind of a waste? But upon using this stuff, can confirm it was not a waste. I got this balm, Cicaplast Balm Ultra Repairing Soothing Balm. I'm not entirely sure what the word Cicaplast means. Sorry. There we go. I'm not sure what that word Cicaplast means, but I do know that one of my favorite brands of skincare, Dr. Jart, has a product that has the word Cicaplast in it. And I love all of Dr. Jart's products. They're so good for my dry skin. So I just kind of like went with God and bought this on a whim, and it's been fabulous. I'll show you the texture. I can't wear it under skincare, unfortunately. It does pill under my makeup. Or sorry, I can't wear it under makeup, unfortunately. But I put it on at night, and it also has like a white cast, but it doesn't have SPF, so I'm not really sure. But it truly is the most creamy, soft, and delicious moisturizer. And I love it. So I got 2 of these, and then I also got the hand cream. Love. Oh, and I also got a bunch of mustards. I'll grab one. Well, you'll see it in the video. I grabbed a bunch of French mustard. The only one I've opened so far is the tarragon flavor. It's delicious. It's strangely so spicy. I don't know if it's like tarragon horseradish or what, or if the mustard in France is just like a hit of acid to your nostrils. It literally tastes like wasabi. Like, I love mustard. But this shit like cleared my sinuses instantly. I was like, whoa! It literally tasted like I took a bite of wasabi. But yeah, enjoy the episode. I love you so much. And I'll see you soon. So the weekend started with a pit stop in New Jersey so I could drop Poppy off to stay with Millie and my dad. Millie is my parents' dog. A lot of people have been asking about her since I got Poppy. They're like, did you get rid of Millie? Where is she? She's in New Jersey with her parents, living her best life. We had a 7 p.m. flight out of Newark. We enjoyed the first of many glasses of Laurent Perrier in the United Lounge and my last American Diet Coke, plus a glass of rosé champagne in honor of Valentine's Day. We landed at 7:30 a.m. Paris time. The flight was about 6 hours and I slept for 3 or 4 hours. We checked into the hotel and unpacked and refreshed before heading out for the day. I desperately wanted to crawl into bed and go back to sleep, but we only had 36 hours in Paris, so we had to make the most of it. My wardrobe options were quite limited because I do have my torn ACL, so this is my best attempt at giving fashion while also giving knee brace. Luckily, we didn't have to go too far to get to the shops. Our hotel was only like 2 blocks away from all of the good stores. We started off by popping into Loewe. I was obsessed with everything in this store. I tried on practically the entire collection, but since it was our first stop of the day, we wanted to see a few more shops before making any purchases. So then we headed over to Chloe. Naturally, I had to get this Capricorn t-shirt, and then we headed over to Gucci, which was the surprise highlight of the day. We had the best sales associate. He was honestly having so much fun with us. We popped into Fendi. The bags were so good. Stopped at Loro Piana before heading over for lunch at the Four Seasons. At this point, we had already indulged in a few glasses of champagne on an empty stomach, so this was much needed. After some deliberation, my mom and I headed back to Gucci and back to Loewe to make some purchases. I ended up getting this gorgeous red leather Gucci trench coat, and my mom and I both got the same Loewe brown leather jacket. We had a quick turnaround to head over to our dinner reservation. I got the sole and it was fabulous, and we had a gorgeous breakfast at the hotel. Hi. Oh my gosh. Wait, I need to show you where you're propped up. I'm gonna prop you up on this little cotton pad dish, but look. You're joking. Okay, hi, it's day 2 in Paris. We're leaving for the Champagne region in a few hours, but we've got brunch today. Before brunch, we want to try to go to the Eiffel Tower because we haven't seen it since we've been here. We flew out of Newark yesterday, or 2 days ago. We flew out of Newark Friday night. We took off at around 7 o'clock p.m. And then I slept on the plane for 3.5, 4 hours. We woke up and we were in Paris. It was 7:30 a.m. here. We checked into our hotel, quickly changed, and immediately hit the ground running with some shops. I just posted an Instagram story of like all of the shopping we did. And I honestly can't believe we did all of that yesterday. Like, my mom and we're not your most energetic travelers. Typically, like 1 or 2 activities in one day is enough for us. And so the fact that we were out and about all day yesterday is so unlike us. But I was like, Mom, we only have 36 hours here. We have to like lock in. And so we locked in and we did it. We were struggling for a bit because by the time we sat down for lunch, we were doing afternoon tea at the Four Seasons. All the reservations that we're going to while we're in Paris and Champagne were organized by the Laurent Perrier team, which was so nice of them because I cannot imagine having to deal with getting reservations in Paris last minute the weekend of Valentine's Day. But they hooked us up with a tea time at the Four Seasons, which was lovely. It was at 3 p.m. except by the time we sat down for tea, we hadn't had a bite of food since the in-flight meal we had like 10 hours prior to this. And in between then and lunch, we had about 3 glasses of champagne while we were shopping. And so we were feeling crazy, like an empty stomach, 3 glasses of champagne and 4 espresso shots. I felt like a college kid again. I felt like it was game day. I felt like I woke up in Clemson, South Carolina, and we were playing Florida State. Florida State was a big rival while I was there. And I had a bottle of Andre and a bite of a Starbucks wake-up wrap, and I was off to the races. That's what I felt like physically. Shopping was fabulous. By the time we were done with tea time, my mom and I, it's so funny, we were looking around while we were there at tea time. And the differences between us Americans and the Europeans were unignorable. Like, I thought tea time was going to be an hour. It ended up being 2.5. And when I realized that we were in for a much longer lunch than I had mentally prepared for, I started spiraling. So like, they bring out the second course out of 4 courses of tea time. And I'm like, looking at my watch, we're already an hour in. I'm like, we're only halfway there? And I start tweaking out. And my mom and I are like sitting at the table like, the room is spinning. It's really warm in here. The music's really relaxing. We're sitting in this like comfy booth, drinking warm tea and warm milk, filling our bodies with sweet pastries, and we're like, oh my god, we have to get outside. Like, I felt like I was gonna pass out. Because again, we're only running on 4 hours of sleep, and my mom and I are not in good shape unless we get at least 8 hours. Anything less than 8 hours and we are monsters, and it's something I've talked to my doctor about. It's an issue. It's my most debilitating physical predisposition is my sleep requirements. So we're sitting at this lovely tea at the Four Seasons with these, what I would say, Michelin level pastries. The champagne is flowing. The Laurent Perrier is flowing. The service is incredible. The guy who was taking care of us was the nicest man ever. And yeah, my mom and I are just like spiraling. We're like watching the clock. We're like, when is this shit gonna be over? And all of the Europeans, all of the Parisians, the French people around us are just like so chill, sipping their coffee, sipping their cappuccinos,
eating the pastries, eating the treats, conversing, not a single care in the world. And me and my mom are like, we have to go. Looking at our phones, trying to talk to each other, immediately getting nauseous and dizzy, staring at the floor, staring at the ceiling, flagging down the waiter. At one point we had to say, like, to the waiter, we have an appointment, I'm so sorry, we're gonna have to go, because like at this point we were 2 hours in. And he was like, oh, okay, are you sure you don't have 15 minutes so I can show you the finishing course? And my mom looked at me like, and I was like, sure. I cannot disappoint. He was so excited. Like, I couldn't like say no, we have to go immediately. We don't want to see the final course. I want to see the grand finale. So he brought out the final course. It was delicious. We were gonna get the French hot chocolate because it looked amazing, and I just did a recipe for French hot chocolate, so it felt very serendipitous that was one of the highlights of their menu. But we were in such spooky shape that we just like had to get out of there. So we immediately finished our meal and fled the scene. Not really, but like it felt like that. We were like, bye, thank you, love you, bye. We've been here for way too long, bye. Yeah. And that was like definitely a moment where I took a long, hard look at myself in the mirror, like, why can't you just sit and enjoy afternoon tea without fully wanting to exit your skin? And my mom's not even a New Yorker. My mom's from the South, and even she was like beside herself. But yeah, we're trying to do as the locals do. We're trying to chill. We just had a very lovely hotel breakfast. The Laurent Perrier team put us up in this stunning hotel, which is conveniently a block away from all the shops, which is why we spent the entire day yesterday shopping. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to admit to the purchases I made because I feel insane about them. But to be fair, I made these purchases on an empty stomach with 2 or 3 glasses of champagne in me. So I wasn't thinking clearly. It was also the day after Valentine's Day, and I was like, I'm gonna buy myself a Valentine's Day present. The thing about having a January birthday is that I use it as an excuse to shop for myself from November all the way to February. So I'll be like, oh, this is my Christmas birthday Valentine's Day present. Oh, this is my Christmas birthday Valentine's Day present. Literally for an entire quarter of the year. I'm just like, oh no, like Christmas, birthday, Valentine's Day. Because they're all back to back to back. I use it as an excuse to get away with murder, apparently, because that is what I did to my credit card yesterday. I murdered it. I might as well like cut it up and rip it in half. I actually might be wearing one of the purchases today, so I guess I'll have to show you, but I'm just like afraid. You know when you like spend way too much money on something and then you just like can't look at it? That's how I feel right now. Like when I sat down at breakfast this morning, I looked at my mom and I was like, what did we do? What did we do yesterday? Like, oh my God, I'm having scaries. And obviously I can't return it because we spent an entire afternoon with these people shopping and them feeding us champagne. If I were to march in there and be like, I'd like to return this, they'd be like, I hate you. And I'd agree. Every now and then I gotta check in with my face in the mirror, make sure I'm not coloring outside the lines. We were gonna go to Sephora yesterday because I truly only know how to style my hair with an air wrap these days. And you can't bring your air wrap to Europe because it'll explode. And we just didn't have time. We were having too much fun shopping. So I have nothing to do my hair with. And I washed it a few hours before the airport. Fresh blowout. Except then, before we got on the plane, when we were at the lounge, I washed my face and like all my makeup off and put on all my skincare, and I gave myself a nice protective layer of face oil. And the face oil made my front pieces so greasy. I like didn't even think of that. And so I didn't bring, of course this is the first time I haven't brought dry shampoo on a vacation. I don't know, it just like slipped my mind, I forgot, who knows. But I used my setting powder, my one size setting powder on my roots, and it worked. So I was like, wait, if setting powder absorbs oil on your face, and you know how people were like using micellar water as dry shampoo. It's like, this could probably work, and it did. So if you're ever out of the country and you need dry shampoo, use your setting powder. So we just had breakfast at the hotel. We're going, oh, did I tell you this? We're going to the Eiffel Tower, and then we're gonna go to a grocery store so I can load up on French butter. And then we'll probably be late for breakfast or for brunch. Oh, speaking of my hair, so I don't have my air wrap. I use the setting powder as dry shampoo, and my blowout bounce is completely evaporated in the past 48 hours, and so I'm trying to revive some sort of shape to my hair with using socks, like all the girlies do on TikTok, but I actually know it's gonna look horrific. Like, if you have thin, fine hair and you see these people do these like no heat styling trends, and I just need everyone to align that we're all rolling our eyes, right? Because there's actually nothing more infuriating than seeing a girl with the most perfect head of hair being like, I'm doing no heat on my hair this month and I'm just doing sock curls. I haven't used a curling iron in 2 years. I'm like, yeah, your hair, shut up. Like, we can tell. No need to brag. I don't wear a ton of eye makeup during the day usually, but my new favorite thing is brown cream eyeliner applied to my lash line with an angled brush. And by my new thing, I mean like people do this, but I haven't done this in a while, like worn eyeliner. So it's new for me. Usually I just do brown eyeshadow, but the cream eyeliner, this is Westman Atelier, sits so nice and stays much longer. Let me see if I can twirl you around. Here. There we go. Wow, I feel like I'm on Vogue Beauty Secrets. Does you think anyone on Vogue Beauty Secrets has done sock curls? They should. That would be real as fuck if some mega celebrity was like, here's how I do my sock curls. Honestly, maybe I won't do mascara right now because we've got a long day ahead of us, and if you have contacts, you know, mascara can sometimes just like really fuck you up in the eyes. I don't know. It's just like, it's a really big commitment. It's exhausting. It's a full-time job wearing mascara. So we're just gonna do a little bit of eyeliner and curl the lashes. You know, call me crazy, waterline, uh-oh. Again, this is brown, so it's not as harsh on my features. Even that, oh my god. Okay, cute. I also just realized, I don't know if you can tell, my lips are so chapped, don't look at them. I'm just like the most dehydrated girl ever. Between the flight and the lack of water readily available in this country, like I should have brought my Stanley, Jesus Christ. Also, one of my new favorite things, this Anastasia Brow Freeze Gel. It's not the pot of Brow Freeze. That stuff is like cement. This is a little bit easier to manage and also like less crusty. I took a really long break from gelling my eyebrows at all because it started giving me the ick. But I think now I found like a happy medium of where I can set my brows in a way that looks, oh. In a way that looks nice and put together, but not in a way that looks like cuckoo bananas, you know? And what I like to do is I get the tube and kind of just follow me for more beauty tips, makeup influencer loading. But you see how that looks like a little bit like, it almost wakes up my face, especially when I'm not doing mascara for the day. Something about me is learning how to do makeup in the early 2010s means that I will never skip an inner corner highlight. It's against my DNA. So another new purchase, this Pat McGrath shadow palette with this gorgeous burgundy red and then these shimmers. Pat McGrath knows how to do a shimmer. She really does. Throwing it on the nose, obvi. Did I put powder blush on my cheeks? I don't remember. This is a point in the makeup routine where I overdo it with the blush because I forget how much I've already put on my face and I forget what a face is actually supposed to look like. Haha. I'm so fucking thirsty. But I'm out of water. My camera just turned off, so I don't know if I lost all of that, but we're back. It's time to do a sock bun reveal. Sock bun. Wow. My age is showing once again. Sock curl. My hopes are so low with this, so it could look worse. It looks better than it did before, which is I guess all you can really hope for at this point. It's also like my hair is so staticky. Ugh. All right, I'm gonna fix this and I'm gonna go, but I'll see you at the Eiffel Tower.
So unfortunately, we did not make it to the Eiffel Tower. So we jumped in our car and headed straight to Champagne. It was only about an hour drive. It was really not too bad. The drive itself was gorgeous. I ended up using it as some time to get some work done. I finished up editing the vlog that I had posted last week. I was so excited for our time in Champagne. We were staying at this stunning castle almost. This was one of the nicest hotels that I've ever stayed at in my entire life, and I urgently need to find an excuse to go back. Seeing as it was Valentine's Day weekend, there were so many couples there having like a romantic weekend getaway, and it was just me and my mom, you know, chilling, hanging out, pounding champagne at every opportunity we got. Believe it or not, the inside of the hotel was even more stunning than the outside. The bar in the lobby was such a vibe. It was so cozy and chic. Not to mention the restaurant attached to the hotel was a Michelin star tasting menu. Literally, what else could you ask for? The last time my mom and I were in France, we went to Versailles, and it truly felt like we were staying in Versailles this entire trip. After what was the best sleep of my life, I enjoyed a leisurely espresso and some chocolate chip madeleines on the terrace of my hotel room. This was very much a main character moment. I was being so drama, like looking out over the gardens. Then it was time to get ready for the day. We had a tour booked over at the Laurent Perrier vineyard. I later learned that the vineyard is actually not open to the public for tours and that the Laurent Perrier team was giving us a VIP experience. So I'm so glad I was able to document and be able to share it with you guys because it was so spectacular. The madeleines were not gonna hold me over through the day, especially if we were gonna be doing a champagne tasting. So I used the groceries that I had gotten the day before in Paris and made myself a little jamon Hubert sandwich. There's one thing about me, it's that I love to make my own food. Even when I'm on vacation, I will find a way to somehow cook in my hotel room, and that's exactly what I did. I used some Le Bardier butter, this truffle French ham, or I think it might have been Italian ham, I can't remember. And then this tarragon mustard, which I had mentioned previously, literally blew my brains out. It was so spicy, but it was so good. This was the perfect meal to hold me over for the rest of the day. Plus, I was nursing a slight hangover the entire trip from all the champagne we were drinking, and nothing cures a hangover quite like salty ham and lots of butter and bread. No, I thought I was gonna have to go this entire trip without soda, which honestly I was quite panicked about, but I was blessed by the hotel gods and I found this Coke Zero in my mini fridge. Now, sadly, it was really cold this day. I had so many cute outfits to wear to the vineyard, but I ended up having to go with this fuzzy coat. But regardless of the freezing temperatures, it ended up being a gorgeous day, not a cloud in the sky, which is rare for the Champagne region, I was informed. Their typical weather is usually overcast and maybe a little rainy, which actually yields the perfect climate to grow the grapes that are used in Champagne. Since they don't get a ton of sunshine, the grapes don't end up developing as many sugars as you would get if you were in a sunnier region. So essentially, the more sunlight, the more sugars that develop in the fruit itself, thus yielding a sweeter wine. Now, I did learn that almost all champagne houses add sugar to their champagnes because of this inherent lack of sweetness in the grapes. And while Laurent Perrier does add sugar to some of their champagnes, they were the first house to ever develop a champagne with 0 added sugar. And this is not like a health or wellness sort of angle. Their master winemaker just really wanted to highlight the natural beauty of these grapes without masking it with added sugar. Similarly, they were the first house to ever use stainless steel barrels to age their champagne. Traditionally, champagne is aged in oak barrels, which then imparts an oaky flavor to the wine, whereas stainless steel barrels impart 0 flavor, allowing the natural beauty of those grapes to shine through. Now, before my visit, I had no idea any of this information, but it makes a lot of sense why Laurent Perrier is my favorite champagne, because it is so clean and so crisp. I also wanted to note that they are the only champagne house that is making rosé champagne with 100% Pinot Noir grapes. All other champagne houses mix red and white wine. This is because using 100% Pinot Noir grapes and macerating them to create the rosé champagne is a lot more labor intensive than the alternative. But I think it yields a much more favorable flavor. It's also interesting to consider the fact that Laurent Perrier is 100% family owned and female run. 2 sisters run the champagne house right now, whereas many of the other popular champagne brands like Moet, Veuve Clicquot, Dom Perignon are all owned by LVMH. So yeah, every time I drink a glass of champagne now, I'll know that I'm supporting a small female run business. After our tour, the Laurent Perrier team treated us to a lovely lunch. This was honestly my favorite meal of the entire trip. Then we headed back to the hotel and we got dinner in downtown Reims, which is the name of the village or town that we were staying in Champagne. This was a very quintessential French meal. I got the foie gras and truffle terrine, then the côte de boeuf, which is just a fancy way of saying beef tenderloin, and more foie gras, which I honestly am such a fan of. I feel like it's kind of divisive. We got the crêpe Suzette, which is just crepes sauteed in butter and orange juice and a little bit of brandy, or no, what is that, Grand Marnier? I'm not normally a crepe person, but these were phenomenal. We also got a little raspberry coulis. This was the perfect meal to end our trip. We headed home and had to pack up our suitcases because we were leaving for the airport pretty early in the morning. The last step of my packing process, I shoved the vacuum sealed butter into my suitcase just a few minutes before we left for the airport. I had been storing it in the mini fridge in my hotel room. Ideally, I would have been able to freeze it before our trip. Thankfully, butter isn't quite as sensitive in terms of dairy products when it comes to temperature changes. So it survived. It made it back to New York City alive and well. I have heard that if you want to travel with butter, you have to put it in your checked bag and not your carry-on. I cannot confirm or deny if this is 100% true, but I was not open to taking any chances. We said goodbye to our gorgeous hotel and headed over to Charles de Gaulle Airport. Honestly, this was the most chaotic airport experience I've ever had in a very long time. Like, why do they have to make it so confusing with all those different tunnels? Alas, we made our flight with a few minutes to spare and we landed in New York City a mere 8 hours later. Of course, we had to do another pit stop in New Jersey so I could pick up Poppy. I gave Millie her little souvenir. I got both of the girls little Remy Ratatouille stuffed animals at the airport, and they're both obsessed. And honestly, I'm obsessed too. It's like one of my favorite movies. After an almost 24-hour travel day, I finally returned back to my apartment in the city. I went to bed at like 7 p.m. New York time and slept for a full 13 hours. And when I woke up the next day, it was Wednesday, and I had to jump right back into work. I love to add an extra day on the front end and the tail end of my vacation so I can decompress, get a vacation from my vacation. Alas, that was not an option for me this week. So here's a little demo of that scallop recipe that I was telling you about. The first step is you want to remove the abductor muscles from your scallops. This isn't completely crucial in terms of the flavor, but those little muscles on the sides of the scallops are a bit more tough than the rest of the scallop. Then you give them a light dredge in some all-purpose flour or Wondra flour, which is like an extra fine milled flour. If you're gluten-free, you could do cornstarch instead. Giving it a little flour dredge helps brown the outside of the scallops, and then it also helps thicken the butter sauce that we'll make at the
end. Now you can cook them in just butter the entire time, but I like to start them off in some ghee, which is like clarified butter, because it has a higher smoke point and you don't have to worry about the butter burning. Now my strategy with scallops is always to cook them about 80% of the way on super, super high heat. I'll sear them for about 1 to 2 minutes on the first side before carefully flipping them over and searing them for an additional, say, 30 seconds to a minute on the other side. The exact timing is going to depend on the size and the thickness of your scallops. You're going to want to look at the edges of your scallops to see that golden brown crust starting to develop before you flip them over. This is one of those dishes where you can't be fussing with them in the pan, or else you'll risk them sticking to the pan and not developing any crust. Now, since I was cooking on super high heat, I did end up setting off my fire alarm, but fear not, the scallops were totally fine. I just have a very sensitive fire alarm apparently. I had the oven set to about 200 degrees and I put a little sizzle tray in there so I could transfer the scallops out of the pan and onto the warm tray while I then made the sauce. I threw in our cubed butter. I used a fish spatula to scrape the brown bits off the bottom of the pan because those are gonna impart a ton of flavor. And then I added the scallops back into that butter, tossed them around, and finish it with some fresh lemon juice, fresh chopped parsley. But yeah, it's really that simple. Scallops are one of those things where it does require some practice to kind of get the hang of it and get the confidence in terms of the cook time. But once you master this technique, you can really customize it however you want, using whatever flavors you want. One of my favorite things to do during the summertime is to saute fresh corn and cherry tomatoes in that butter sauce, and it just goes so perfectly with the scallops. One of my biggest tips when serving a seafood dish like this is to warm your plate before serving. Now this is as simple as setting your oven to 200 degrees and letting your platter or your plate warm up for a few minutes before transferring the scallops there so that they don't get ice cold right away. But yeah, these were amazing and so easy.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you next week. TBD. Wish me luck on my surgery. And the recipe for the scallop dish is on Substack. I'm sorry Poppy's not here to say goodbye to you. She's at doggy daycare. But she sends her best. Okay, thank you all so much. I love you, and have the best weekend. Just like have the best life. I don't know. Whatever. Love you. Bye.